Good morning, good evening, good night, whatever you like. My name is Norris and I'm the host of Real Talkative TV.
Everybody feel impressed when they meet me. He keep his shit tight, knitted, very neatly. He move discreetly, it ain't no secret. Where your swag at? My shit right here.
On today's episode, we're gonna do something that brought pure joy to my heart. And we're gonna go through my top 10 MCU films. MCU, for those who don't know, stands for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So anything not included, such as the earlier Spider-Man films, Sam Raimi, and the Amazing Spider-Man films, will not be included in this discussion. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna do something different from the norm. I'm gonna start with my number 1 film, and then I will work my way down to the number 10. So here we go. Number 1, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I know this surprises a lot of people who know me and who know my love for Marvel films, but I gotta give it to it. This film right here changed the entire game. Let me break it down. First and foremost, this is the first time we were introduced to the Russo brothers. The Russo brothers are the genius minds behind Endgame, Infinity War, this film. I'm pretty sure they did Captain America Civil War as well, but don't quote me on it, I'm not 100% sure on that. But either way, they did, well, them and Kevin Feige's vision, of course, did something that we hadn't seen really in movies. The only thing I would kind of compare it to would be the Dark Knight trilogy with the Joker. It was close, and what I'm getting towards is the seriousness of comic book films. Just bringing that tone into it, making it seem as if this is happening in real life and this is what it would look like if we were experiencing superhumans on Earth in the real world. This is what it would look like. This film did that. Captain America Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier just brought a total different dynamic to the villain role in the MCU, as well as just that spy genre, combining it with this comic book genre, you know, the more family-friendly, happy-go-lucky, you know, all that. It really just humanized everything. And I love it. The fight scene on the bridge is something that is still just unmatched to me. The way Bucky was maneuvering the knife, the way as high as the stakes were at the time. I mean, hell, we even thought that Nick Fury got killed at one point, or at least that's what the film wanted you to do. And then we have the elevator scene when Captain America fights literally everyone, and we find out that, well, he finds out that S.H.I.E.L.D. is being ran by Hydra. And that's my only critique of the film. I hate that they always let Hydra be the mastermind behind the evil plots. Like, Hydra made Bucky. Hydra was the one putting all this together to take over S.H.I.E.L.D. It's just like, Winter Soldier is dope, and he's fine on his own, but I get it. His origins are Hydra, and it makes sense. So it's a perfect film. It really made you look at these films and be like, damn, this shit real. I could go on and on. But number 1, Captain America Winter Soldier. Number 2, Avengers Infinity War. It was so tough and so difficult in general to not make this my number 1 film. Avengers Infinity War was pretty much it was like the celebration of everything we had made it through the last 10 years. So all the movies combined, the whole cinematic universe being a whole and putting it all together, that was our reward for it. Infinity War was the max, the final boss level battle that pretty much changed the game for superhero films. It was the first time that a superhero lost. And, in this situation, it was all of our heroes. It took everybody to even fight this man, Thanos. But they lost in the end. Like, he accomplished exactly what he set out to do, and he did it in beautiful fashion, and it was entertaining as hell to watch. That film changed the game so much that the film after it, tickets sold out online. Like, I had never been a part of nothing like that. They sold out online, but all that hype was because of this film, Infinity War. That's how dope it was. At the end, when everyone started, when they did the snap and everybody started dusting away, that changed the game. Spider-Man, I about cried when Spider-Man dusted away. Everyone in the theater with me lost their fucking minds when Black Panther dusted away. T'Challa, he had just had his movie, and it's like, we just got him, just fell in love with him, now he's gone. It just didn't feel real because we weren't used to our heroes losing. And that was just beautiful to experience and watch, unmatched. That's my number 2. Number 3 will be the film that came right after this, Avengers Endgame. This was a fan service film to the T, but because the Russo brothers directed it, they still gave it that feel of high stakes, that feel of, we're still gonna give you a film. It had an emotional touch. It had action that you love. It had great dialogue. And then on top of that, the acting. Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, Tony Stark, he put on a performance of a lifetime. He did. He really did. And if you just go back to that film and just really look at it, it's a very long film and all the memorable action is pretty much at the end. But everything leading up to it is some good acting, good writing, and just good execution all around. I applaud everyone involved in that film. I love it. Love it. Also a film that could be considered number 1 or number 2, more so number 2, but some days number 1, just depending on how I'm feeling. But that's my number 3 film. Number 4, Thor Ragnarok. Now, Thor Ragnarok is at number 4, and I know this is going to surprise some people. I know people who don't really care for this film too much. They don't think it's a bad film, but they just don't care for it. I think it was incredible. It literally revamped the character of Thor, gave him humor, and then the combination with him and Hulk just worked out perfectly. I don't know how, but it did. Made Valkyrie seem even cooler, and then explored the world of just the cosmics. They did that really in Guardians of the Galaxy, but in this film, to really see that there are other planets and it's not just always alien looking people running around. They're still, human-like people, but they're technically aliens because they're not from Earth. Or they are from Earth and they just happen to be out there in space on another planet. It was just entertaining and beautiful to see. I really loved the movie. And in the end, with when the fight with Hela, they fucking executed that thing. I mean, her character alone was just so refreshing. A woman villain. The motivation was there with her being pretty much the third child of Odin and just a forgotten child, but the evil one, the one that pretty much got him to the heights of his leadership and his reign as Odin. She pretty much did all the dirty work, and now she's coming to reclaim what's rightfully hers. I mean, it was laid out perfect. Then Thor got more grounded here and ratchet too, just with the haircut and missing the eye and all the thunder. And, I just fucking loved it. I was never the biggest Thor fan in the first place. And especially with the first 2 movies, I was just like, whatever, Thor's Thor. But this one, turn it up. He went from bottom tier to A-list quick. Not as an actor, just as the character. Quick in one film. It's a good job. My 5th film, SpiderMan No Way Home. Now, I know a lot of people are assuming this is going to be my number 1 film just because that is my favorite character, as you can see. But it's just not the best film ever, but it is a very good one. And this is a fan service film to the T. Unlike Endgame, this felt strictly like we're going to do everything the fans want, and we're just going to pretty much leave it there. Now, writing's still good. Action still, action was pretty good. But the stakes here just weren't. They wanted it to be bigger than what it came off to be. Like, I really wasn't that upset with the world knowing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I mean, of course, all the legal stuff that was happening, and I get it, it's cool and all, but it didn't really bother me that much. And then I think it's real silly that they had to erase everyone's memory of him rather than just erasing everyone's memory of Mysterio. And voila, movie over. So it felt a little bit forced, but still great film. Everything that happens in it, especially the end, I love it. Then the beginning of that film, the monologue that J. Jonah Jameson does, I mean, it's just, it'll take your breath and stop your heart if you ain't careful. But yeah, that's my number 5. Number 6, Black Panther. Black Panther was that film, first African-American led superhero film outside of Blade and Spawn, I want to say. I think don't quote me, but for me, thinking Marvel, Blade. But this one had, majority of the characters were African-American, and it was beautiful. It's just beautiful to see representation of our race and our culture. And I feel like Ryan Coogler hit the nail on the head. Never had a doubt of him. He did great with the Creed movies, but he really showed his love for directing. And I'm just appreciative of it. This movie was great. It's not the best movie to me only because it just has that real Marvel happy feel to it at times. But I did love the villain Killmonger here. And it really gave that motivation of villains a different look. Like this movie came out right before Infinity War 2, so it kind of led the way to being able to accept Thanos' ideology behind why he was doing what he wanted to do. Because most of us agreed with Killmonger in a sense. It maybe not the way he wanted to execute it, but we agreed with his purpose and the meaning behind what he wanted to do. And just to see that portrayed on film, it was pretty interesting and honestly genius. So I love it. Number 7, Captain America Civil War. This this film is great. I love it. It was when Spider-Man came back into the MCU. You know, this is Civil War, so it's Avengers versus Avengers, and they're fighting over the what was it called? The Sokovia Accords. This is when we get a real good look at Vision and Wanda and how their relationship is, you know, growing and going to blossom eventually. But my issue with it and why it's not higher is just because it's kind of all over the place. Like, it's about the Sokovia Accords, and I get that, but that's not interesting enough to hold a full movie. So we got to throw in Zemo as the villain, who's pretty much masterminding all this shit, and that's another tie to Hydra, which I just didn't care for, just because I'm just Hydra'd out, and I really just like it when my villains just are villains, you know? But he wasn't, when I say tied to Hydra, he wasn't working for Hydra or anything. But it's just the simple fact that everything happened and he knows that Hydra was the one controlling the Winter Soldier somehow. So he needed to pretty much bring them into the movie by mentioning at the very least, just so he could get control of Bucky and then do this perfectly thought out plan that would never go that way in real life, but executed to a T with no hiccups. It was just too unrealistic for me. That's why it's not higher. But I love the airport scene. I love having Spider-Man back. I love Bucky and Captain America's dynamic. And I even love the way Tony Stark kind of fit in between all that. Like, just the connection between him and Bucky with Tony's father and everything. You know, Bucky killed Tony's father and mother. And Tony, that one line at the end when he was like, you know, fuck all that forgiveness shit. He killed my mom. It wasn't even about Howard Stark. He killed my mom. That was enough for him to, on site, let's get it. So yeah. Number 8, ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This film is one of the newer films in MCU. It was honestly just a refreshing start to this new phase of the MCU. And I'm appreciative of it. I love the bus fighting scene. I love everything about it. Honestly, I could go on and on about it, just little things I love. It just wasn't the best movie I've ever seen. But it was very good, like beyond good. But those other ones that came before this are just OG. So I may be slightly biased with it, but I do love and appreciate ShangChi for sure. Number 9, Spider-Man Far From Home. This movie was slightly silly to me, but it's in the top 10 solely because of the fight scene with Spider-Man and Mysterio when he actually started using the Stark tech and really making that virtual reality stuff come to life for Spider-Man. And that sequence was just mind-blowing to me. Like, I haven't seen anything that incredible since then, honestly, or really before then, as far as just the graphics of it all. It was beautiful, and it was executed flawlessly. And the actor, Jake Gyllenhaal, he's one of my favorite actors either way, believe it or not. But he did a superb job of being Mysterio. And I love how they connected him, Mysterio, to Tony Stark as an employee for Stark Industries. And that's what kind of had the motivation behind why he was doing this, how he was doing this. It was just flawless in execution, honestly. I just wish him being the main villain was a bigger focus, like the electricity and all the water stuff, and I forgot the characters, what they're called in the comics, but everything he was doing to pretty much hide that it was him, that stuff was cool, but it didn't really hit home as much when we realized it's him. I wish Mysterio just would have been him the whole time, and that fight sequence, we could have had more of those. So, there we are. And last but not least, number 10, we have a tie. For number 10, I can't choose between Iron Man 1 and Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Both are films that pretty much gave a hard punch to the MCU for me. And by hard punch, I mean really woke everything up. Iron Man, of course, is what started this whole thing. That needs no explanation. Guardians of the Galaxy introduced us to the cosmic part of the MCU. We're going out of space now. There's other threats out there, and they introduced us to Infinity Stones. It just made everything dope. And we got Gamora. I love Gamora, so I loved it. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is my top 10 Marvel films. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and click the like button. If you loved what you saw, go ahead and click the subscribe bell. It's simple. Do me a favor. I love to have you here. And I'm going to be doing these very often. If you like it and you want to see more, do what I just told you to do. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good evening, good night, whatever you like. My name is Norris. Thank you for being a part of Real Talkative TV. Until next time.